Do you ever feel like you can say a sentence perfectly grammatically, but it still sounds a little bit like a robot?
Oh my gosh, Mia, absolutely. That feeling when you translate word for word and people understand you, but they don't feel you, you know?
Exactly. It's like you've built a house, but you forgot all the paint and the furniture. It's structurally sound, but it has no personality.
That is such a great way to put it. You just used a perfect example of what we're talking about today, actually.
Did I? See, it just happens naturally when you're fluent.
Totally. So, hi everyone, I'm Leo.
And I'm Mia.
Welcome back to the English Blend.
Today, we are diving into something that turns basic English into beautiful, natural English. Figurative language, specifically metaphors and similes.
These are the tools that help you move past just accuracy and really embrace fluency.
Exactly. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Let's start with the basics, right? Because these terms sound fancy, figurative language, metaphor, simile, but they are everywhere.
They are. Think about it this way. We use these tools to paint a picture with words.
That's the key. Figurative language means the words don't mean exactly what they say. It's not literal.
So imagine you were really tired. You could say, I am very tired. That's accurate. Perfect grammar.
But if you say, I am as tired as a dog, that is a simile, and it communicates the feeling much more strongly.
A simile is really easy to spot because it almost always uses the words like or as to make a comparison.
Right. It says one thing is similar to another thing. It's comparing A to B.
Like, the coffee tasted as bitter as medicine. You know exactly how bad that coffee was.
Or if someone runs very fast, you might say, they ran like the wind. We know they aren't literally the wind, but the comparison emphasizes their speed.
We use these simple comparisons all the time in everyday conversations, even without thinking about it.
Think about work. If a task was very easy, you might say, that was as easy as pie.
Or, that project was like walking in the park. Both mean it was simple and enjoyable.
So that's the simile, using like or as to show similarity.
Now, let's look at the metaphor, which is maybe a little bit more tricky, but even more powerful.
The metaphor is like the simile's older, slightly more dramatic sister.
Yes, a metaphor says that one thing is another thing, even though it clearly isn't. It skips like or as.
Instead of saying the world is like a stage, which is a simile, Shakespeare famously said, all the world's a stage.
That's a metaphor. The world is a stage. This tells us that life is just a performance and we are all actors. It's a very deep idea, communicated with simple words.
If your job is overwhelming, you might say, my boss is a tiger.
You don't mean he has stripes and sharp claws. You mean he is fierce, aggressive, or difficult to deal with.
That's why metaphors are so good for fluency. They allow you to compress a lot of information and emotion into a small phrase.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the core challenge for A2, B2 learners, the difference between fluency and accuracy.
We hear this all the time. Students focus so much on accuracy, making sure every single verb is conjugated perfectly, every preposition is correct, every tense is right.
And accuracy is important, of course. We need to be understood.
But if you pause for 5 seconds before every sentence because you're mentally checking the grammar rules, you lose fluency.
Fluency is the ability to communicate smoothly and efficiently. It's about maintaining the conversation flow.
And sometimes focusing too hard on accuracy leads to what we call the grammar block.
The grammar block is that moment when your brain freezes up. You know the words, but the fear of making a mistake about the tense or the preposition is so big, you hit a wall.
That's one of our key phrases today, to hit a wall. When you hit a wall, it means you suddenly stop making progress, maybe because you're too tired, or maybe because your brain is overloading.
If you're trying to talk about your weekend and you pause for too long thinking, should I use I went or I have gone? You've hit the grammar block.
And the listener has probably moved on.
Exactly. Our main goal should always be to get your point across. That's our second key phrase.
To get your point across simply means to make sure the other person understands your message, regardless of minor mistakes. Communication over conjugation.
Figurative language helps fluency because native speakers use these comparisons constantly, making the language richer and faster.
If you understand that time is a thief, a metaphor, you instantly grasp the idea that time passes quickly and takes opportunities away from you. You don't need a long explanation.
We've established that relying only on literal, accurate language can make us sound stiff and interrupt our fluency. So, how do metaphors and similes help break that grammar block?
First, many common similes and metaphors are learned as chunks. They are fixed phrases, like idioms, that you don't need to build grammatically every time.
Like, if I'm having a busy day, I don't construct the phrase, my schedule is very full and I feel like I have too much to do.
No, you just say, I'm busy as a bee. It's one chunk, one phrase, and you've saved brain space and time. It's efficient.
This efficiency is vital for fluency. When you use chunks, your brain doesn't have to worry about individual word order or endings.
Let's look at some super common, almost invisible metaphors we use every day.
The idea of argument is war. We talk about winning or losing an argument, or attacking someone's point or defending our position. Arguments aren't literal wars, but we use the language of war to describe them.
Or the idea of time is money. We spend time, we save time, we talk about wasting time. Time isn't cash, but we treat it like a valuable resource.
Learning these underlying metaphorical concepts helps you predict and understand related vocabulary, even if you haven't heard the exact phrase before.
Let's delve a little deeper into why native speakers love them so much, and here we can include a quick cultural note.
Perfect.
English, perhaps more than some other languages, absolutely relies on these non-literal comparisons. It's ingrained in our history, from Shakespeare to modern pop songs.
If you try to translate a novel or even a simple magazine article literally, you will lose the flavor, the humor, and the emotional resonance.
Think about classic American or British humor. A lot of it comes from absurd or unexpected comparisons.
Like, if you describe someone who is very serious, you might say, he has a face like thunder.
That's a great simile. It connects a human emotion, anger, to a powerful natural image, a thunderstorm. It tells you instantly that he looks very, very angry.
If you tried to say that literally, he looks like a storm, it doesn't quite work. But face like thunder is a set phrase that everyone understands.
So the cultural note is this. To sound truly natural, you must embrace the non-literal aspect of English. It's part of the language's DNA.
If you avoid figurative language because you think it's too advanced or risky, you're missing out on a huge part of being fluent.
And remember the third key phrase we mentioned. It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world means that if you make a mistake or if your metaphor is a little weird, nobody is going to panic.
We've all misheard idioms or mixed up metaphors. It happens to native speakers too, and it's often quite funny.
The goal is communication, remember? If you try to use a metaphor and the listener giggles, they still understood that you were trying to emphasize something.
So, Mia, let's move into the practical steps. How can our learners operating at A2 or B2 start adding these tools without feeling overwhelmed?
Practical tip number 1. Massive listening focused on context.
We always emphasize massive listening, but here the focus is key. Don't just listen for glamour. Listen for comparisons.
When you hear someone say, that was a whirlwind of a day, don't just note that it was a busy day. Note the comparison. Day equals whirlwind. A whirlwind is fast, chaotic, and messy.
Try to notice the two things being compared. When you hear, the city is a concrete jungle, write down, city, A, is being compared to jungle, B. What do they share? Density, wildness, lots of hidden dangers maybe.
That detailed listening helps the comparison stick in your brain rather than just the definition.
Practical tip number 2. Learn similes and metaphors as chunks.
We touched on this, but it's worth repeating. Don't try to break down as cold as ice or the early bird gets the worm. Learn the whole phrase as a single unit.
Use flashcards and instead of writing just the meaning, write a simple sentence applying the chunk. For example, after hiking for 6 hours, my legs were as heavy as lead.
This way, when you need to express extreme heaviness, the entire phrase comes out instantly, bypassing the grammar block.
Practical tip number 3. Use the 3-second rule.
This is great for pushing past the grammar block and the fear of failure.
When you are speaking and you feel that pause coming, the moment where you want to stop and mentally check your perfect sentence structure, you have 3 seconds to start speaking or you lose the opportunity.
Just get your point across. If you want to use a simile and you forget the perfect fixed phrase, just use like or as to create your own simple, imperfect comparison.
For example, if you forget fast as lightning, but you remember lightning is fast, just say, he ran like a flash. It might not be the fixed idiom, but it communicates speed and keeps the conversation flowing. Fluency first.
Practical tip number 4. Start with simple metaphors you already use in your native language.
Most languages share some conceptual metaphors. For instance, the idea that happiness is up and sadness is down.
When you feel good, you say, I'm feeling up. When you're sad, you feel down or low. Or you might say, my spirits rose.
These are simple physical metaphors that transfer easily. Identify these simple, common concepts and practice using the directional vocabulary, up, down, to express emotion.
Practical tip number 5. Practice paraphrasing figuratively.
Take 5 simple, literal sentences every day and try to make them sound more interesting using like or as.
Literal sentence. The politician did not tell the truth. Figurative practice. The politician's statement was as slippery as an eel.
Literal sentence. She speaks very softly. Figurative practice. Her voice is like a whisper.
This exercise forces you to think conceptually, moving beyond pure definition.
Let's revisit our 3 useful phrases and put them into context.
We have to get your point across. This is the priority in any conversation.
Yeah, sci-fi is really good. The Academy is interesting. It's about this wild superhero family. Really cool and wild ride.
Next, to hit a wall. This is that frustrating feeling in your study or speaking practice.
Example, I was trying to learn 5 new idioms, but after the 3rd one, I hit a wall and had to stop. It means you stalled or reached a temporary barrier.
And finally, it's not the end of the world. This is your permission to make mistakes.
If you use the wrong preposition, or if you accidentally call a metaphor a simile, just laugh it off. It's not the end of the world. The conversation continues.
We really want to emphasize that fluency is communication, not perfection, and figurative language is essential for that natural communication flow.
If you always stick to the literal, accurate meaning, you are forcing yourself to sound basic, and you miss out on the rich flavor of English.
Think of it like cooking. Accuracy is following the recipe exactly. Fluency is understanding the flavors so well that you can improvise and add your own spices, metaphors, to make the dish unique and delicious.
That's a wonderful metaphor, Mia. See, it's infectious.
The more you listen for these phrases, the more you will realize how common they are and the less scary they become.
Start small. Try to use just one simile today. Maybe describe the traffic as slow as a turtle, or your complicated math homework as a mountain. Even simple words are often metaphors. When we say someone is bright, we don't mean they shine physically, we mean they are intelligent. Intelligence is being compared to light.
Or when we say we have a lot on our plate at work, our plate isn't physically full of tasks, but the tasks are being compared to food, something we must consume or handle.
These small, hidden metaphors are the ones that really tie the language together and make it sound natural and fluent.
So when you are studying, look beyond the definition. Ask yourself, what 2 things are being compared and why? Why is time flying? Metaphor, because flying is fast and uncontrollable. Why is a person cold? Metaphor, because cold things lack warmth and emotion.
Understanding the underlying logic helps you internalize the phrases much faster than just memorizing a dictionary definition.
And if you find yourself hitting a wall when trying to speak, remember the 3-second rule and just try to get your point across, even if the grammar or the metaphor isn't perfect.
Because truly, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world.
Learning these nuances takes time, but it's worth the effort for the payoff in sounding natural and confident.
Don't let the fear of sounding poetic or advanced stop you from using these basic building blocks of conversational English. They are just as much A2 level as they are C2 level. It just depends on the complexity of the comparison. Start with the easy ones.
Focus on the fixed phrases first. Busy as a bee, hungry as a wolf, cold as ice, hot as fire. These are low-risk, high-reward phrases.
Once you are comfortable with similes, you can move on to slightly more complex metaphors like the test was a nightmare or her smile is sunshine.
Remember, fluency is the ultimate goal. Sounding natural means using the language the way native speakers use it.
And native speakers rarely speak 100% literally. We need that figurative spice.
Think of your English journey not as a checklist of rules, but as an adventure. You need the basic map, accuracy, but you need the flair and the storytelling, figurative language, to make the journey interesting.
Let's review those tips quickly, one last time.
1. Massive listening focused on comparisons.
2. Learn similes and metaphors as fixed chunks.
3. Use the 3-second rule to beat the grammar block.
4. Identify simple metaphors shared across languages, like happiness is up.
5. Practice paraphrasing literally into figuratively.
And remember, get your point across. Don't worry if you hit a wall temporarily, because it's not the end of the world.
You are capable of moving past robotic English. Give yourself permission to be creative with your language.
That was a great talk. We hope this episode helps you add some color to your communication.
Yes, and next time we're going to dive into how to manage expectations when moving to an English-speaking country. Very practical stuff.
Join us then. Keep practicing daily, keep listening, and keep trying those new metaphors.
Yes, see you in the next episode of The English Blend.